So we're going to call the meeting to order. Today it's Wednesday, September 22nd, 2021. We're here for the Education, Environment, and Sustainability Committee meeting. Can I have a roll call, please?
Good afternoon, everyone. First, I want to say as a reminder to all in attendance, this meeting is being recorded and live streamed on the county YouTube page. Calling the roll, Ms. Simon.
Here.
Ms. Brown.
Here.
Mr. Jones.
Here.
Mr. Schron is absent. Ms. Stevens.
Present.
You have a quorum.
Thank you so much. Do we have any public comment?
No public comment has been received.
We do have minutes from July 28th, 2021. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Minutes approved. So we're here today to hear a few items regarding the Clean Ohio Fund Green Space, which is an annual application initiative that comes before us. And we always look forward, at least I do, to hearing about the potential projects in Cuyahoga County to conserve natural space, and ask, I guess, we'll start with the first item, if we can have that read and have Allison come up to the podium.
Resolution 2021-0197, supporting an application for funding under the Clean Ohio Fund Green Space Conservation Program, available through the Ohio Public Works Commission on behalf of the West Creek Conservancy, and it's for the conservation of ecologically significant areas in the Baldwin Creek Conservation Initiative in the city of Parma.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, and thank you, Councilwoman Simon, as well as committee members, for your consideration of this resolution and the following resolutions in support of the Clean Ohio grant applications. The Clean Ohio Green Space Conservation Program does help fund preservation of open space and sensitive ecological areas, and the program assists local communities and nonprofit organizations by funding projects that protect natural areas and stream corridors. So the County Council resolution of support, as a reminder, is a statutory requirement as determined by the Ohio Revised Code. And the applications are due on October 15th of this year. So without these resolutions, they wouldn't be eligible for evaluation, scoring, and ranking. So the Clean Ohio program has made a significant impact in Cuyahoga County. Since 2002, 131 projects have been submitted, and 88 of those projects have been awarded approximately $54 million and preserved over 2,300 acres. I did want to comment on last year's projects that came through. We had 8 applications altogether, but 4 came before the County Council for resolutions. As a reminder, if the projects are wholly within a municipality, they only need the resolution from the municipality. If the applications are from the metro parks, they just need a letter of support from the location. So it's nonprofits or multi-jurisdictional projects that come before County Council. Last year we had 4 projects come before County Council, and of those 4, 3 were awarded funding, $1.6 million, and those projects include the Big Creek Greenway, the West Creek Greenway, and the Garden of 11 Angels project. I did have a map prepared for you guys, and the clerk has a copy of that for you. So
I think the 4th one was the Orange.
No,
that was withdrawn.
It was that one. It wasn't that. It was the Chagrin Meadows Preserve.
Okay.
And that one is coming back, I believe, this year. But since they had the resolution last year, they can submit that again this year. It's still considered current.
Okay, thank you.
And then there's representatives from the current projects that can speak in more detail.
So West Creek is the first one.
Yes.
Derek.
Thank you.
Thanks, Allison. Hello.
Hi, good afternoon. I'm Derek Schaefer with West Creek Conservancy here year after year. I think the first resolution that was read was the Baldwin Creek. It's a approximately 19-acre parcel just north of Sprague on the southwest side of Parma, and it's complementing other initiatives that we've worked to preserve up and down, as have other partners upstream and downstream along the Baldwin Creek main stem, which flows into Rocky River. So it's a fee simple acquisition, fully supported by the city of Parma and West Creek Conservancy, and also complements what we're working on with the Northeast Iowa Regional Sewer District.
Questions? Does this connect to existing space that's
No.
being conserved?
Not at this time. It's kind of a rarity in Parma, one of the most densely developed communities or suburbs of Cleveland, to have a 19-acre parcel. So it's kind of like a foothold and picking up a larger parcel. And we have started to talk to adjacent neighbors or adjacent landowners, but this would be the first. 19 acres, gets a good start in that neighborhood.
Thank
Just
you.
downstream of it, though, there are preserved parcels.
Yeah, there's a lot of action in Parma, just like our roads. We see a lot in Public Works. Okay, thanks, Derek. I guess we might have to call you back up, or you have the next one? Yeah. Well, let's start with this one. So if there's no questions, we usually support this unilaterally, as a body, any project, in and out of our districts. So I would make a motion to adopt 2021 or for passage and referral to the next committee meeting. October is a sensitive date, so I would ask for suspension, recommendation for passage.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. So the next one is 2021-0198.
I'm sorry, Madam Chair. At this time, Councilmember Brown has requested her name be added to Resolution 2021-0197 as a sponsor.
Great.
Okay. Moving on, a Resolution 2021-0198, supporting an application for funding under the Clean Ohio Fund Green Space Conservation Program, available through the Ohio Public Works Commission on behalf of the West Creek Conservancy for the conservation of ecologically significant areas in the Mill Creek Greenway in the city of Warrensville Heights.
So this is an additional initiative. I mean, there's a lot of stories to be told in the Mill Creek watershed, also very similar to West Creek, where it's piecing together the watershed from, where it starts up in Beechwood all the way down to Cuyahoga Heights. And over the last couple of years, we've partnered with, whether it's the Northeast Iowa Regional Sewer District, Village of Highland Hills, City of Cleveland, Warrensville Heights, on a slew of restoration and acquisition, a lot of it being upstream, starting in the Highland Park Golf Course, down to Mill Creek where it crosses Harvard, down to Mill Creek where it crosses Patterson and Warrensville. And then, just downstream of that, there's additional acquisitions and floodplain restoration we've been working on with the sewer district. And this is a unique opportunity to preserve about 54 acres within Warrensville Heights. And we've been working in tandem with the mayor of the city as well as local stakeholders. And it would preserve almost a half mile of Mill Creek main stem and would remove a significant amount of impervious surface directly along the stream. So 54 acres within Warrensville, that's quite a chunk of land and a very cool opportunity, to be honest.
Questions?
That was actually so I apologize, my fat fingers, but 0198, so I'm certainly in support. And
You want your name added?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, yeah,
Actually, I'd like my name added to every one of these.
exactly. So this is amazing. I have to say that these areas, Warrensville Heights, Orange, along Chagrin, highly sensitive space with wetlands. Traditionally, it's higher elevation and attracts all kinds of wildlife, and it's just been paved over considerably, and I love this, and I hope all of these can get funded. So do I have a motion for?
I'd like to make the motion to move this item to the full body of the council under second reading suspension.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Moving along, 21-0199.
Resolution 2021-0199, supporting an application for funding under the Clean Ohio Fund Green Space Conservation Program, available through the Ohio Public Works Commission on behalf of the West Creek Conservancy for the conservation of ecologically significant areas in the West Creek Greenway in the city of Parma.
This is a much smaller project. It's only about 1.5 acres, but it's kind of like the linchpin parcel. Back in 2017, so this would have been round 12 of Clean Ohio. we acquired approximately 80 acres from the Catholic Diocese with the former Parmadale campus through the Clean Ohio program in partnership with Cleveland Metro Parks. And in support of support provided by the county, we've been doing demolition of the remaining 22 structures up there in order to reclaim that 80 acres and integrate it into the park. And this 1.5 acres is kind of the linchpin parcel. It's a smaller application, but it does provide a nice, inclusive, and equitable access to the 80 acres that we otherwise only have access to through the woods. So this would help us solidify a nice recreational point of access.
Thank you. Questions?
Just a clarification. This is the piece that was missing from when we did the demolition in Parmadale?
The demolition of Parmadale, which is actually happening today, this is this piece off of West Ridgewood that just enables a more equitable access, because otherwise we're really pinched and
I just assumed you were done by now.
I know.
Because didn't we start that like 2.5, 3 years, almost 4 years ago?
March of 2017.
Okay. That was all, Madam Chair. I thought he was done with the demolition by now.
Okay, so without any questions, I would make a motion to move this matter to the next full council meeting with a recommendation of passage under suspension, second reading. Do I have a second?
Second, Brown.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Derek, what's your T-shirt about?
Free the Cuyahoga.
Yep.
Remove all the impoundments on the Cuyahoga so it can actually run free as a crooked river. Cleveland Fishing Company put it out, and to remove the impoundments, the dams, so we can allow natural fish spawning and habitat and sedimentation. Remove the dams and restore the whole river.
Let us know if you need anything or need to present. Okay. Thank you. I think that's it, right? Next one is Nature Conservancy, but 2021-0201.
So Resolution 2021-0200,
Oh, I'm sorry.
supporting an application for funding under the Clean Ohio Fund Green Space Conservation Program.
Sorry.
Available through the Ohio Public Works Commission on behalf of West Creek Conservancy, and it's for the conservation of ecologically significant areas in the Zachlon River Landing in the city of Cleveland.
So this is a small parcel of land on the east side of the Cuyahoga River, actually on the shipping channel. It's about 3 acres in size, and it's reclamation of a former brownfield. And the intent is to acquire the 3 acres, and it does meet the vision for the Valley goals that was recently adopted by the city of Cleveland through the NOACA TLCI process. And it would provide passive recreational access directly on the east side of the river, kind of below, if you took Independence Boulevard out of Washington Park and went all the way to the bottom, to the belly of the beast. You go through the Steel Yard Valley, and there's 3 acres on the river that we've been able to get under contract and provide access on the east side.
Questions? I'll make a motion to move this matter to the next full council meeting with a recommendation of passage under second reading.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, I think that's it. Thank
And
you.
wouldn't it be second reading suspension, Madam Chair? Okay, thank you.
Thank you all.
Bye. Good to see you.
Next item is Resolution 2021-0201, supporting an application for funding under the Clean Ohio Fund Green Space Conservation Program, available through the Ohio Public Works Commission on behalf of Western Reserve Land Conservancy for the conservation of ecologically significant areas in the Huff Community Green Space in the city of Cleveland. And also at this time, with you, I have distributed a proposed substitute where we will be amending the item to change the name.
Okay, hello.
Good afternoon, Council. My name's Alex Chaka. I'm here with Western Reserve Land Conservancy and also Natural Areas Land Conservancy, which I'll explain why we asked for the change here in a second. But the project here we're presenting is the Huff Green Space Project located on the east side of Cleveland. It's 2.6 acres. So fairly small project in relative terms, but really equally important from an equitable access standpoint. The real goal here is that, this is a primarily mowed landscape. It's actually owned by the Cleveland School Board. And we hope to acquire the property and turn it into open space that will, just provide another connector to the Thurgood Marshall Recreational Center, which is adjacent to the property. Provide open space for people in the community to enjoy. The goal would be create trails, plant trees, hopefully put some playground infrastructure in, some more active type of recreational structures that we would install in time. This is very similar to the Garden of 11 Angels projects we are currently engaged in at this moment on the east side. The reasoning for the change to Natural Areas Land Conservancy is that Natural Areas Land Conservancy is what we call a sister nonprofit to Western Reserve Land Conservancy. The reason we do that is primarily to own land. Helps protect kind of Western Reserve Land Conservancy, the mothership, from any liability concerns that might come with the property, owning the property. And frankly, we did an appraisal request. We have to get an appraisal as part of this process, which I'm sure you guys are probably familiar with. And we did it with that intent, so we just made a mistake when we first requested this in the name of WLC, and we'd like to put it into Natural Areas Land Conservancy.
So you wanted us to substitute the Western Reserve Land Conservancy for Land Areas Land Conservancy?
Natural Areas Land Conservancy.
Natural area, okay.
That's correct.
Any questions? Okay, so I move to substitute 2021-0201 with the change of the name from Western Reserve Land Conservancy to Natural Areas Land Conservancy. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor? Aye. So now that the substitute is before us, I will, if there's any further questions, I will make a motion to move the substituted version to the next full meeting of council with a recommendation of passage under second reading suspension.
Second, Brown.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you for your support.
Yes. Next item will be read.
Resolution 2021-0202, supporting an application for funding under the Clean Ohio Fund Green Space Conservation Program, available through the Ohio Public Works Commission on behalf of Western Reserve Land Conservancy for the conservation of ecologically significant areas in the Shelter Hill Forest Springs in the village of Hunting Valley.
Yes, thank you. So this is a slightly different project. This is located in the very east side of the county in Hunting Valley. 75-acre project, so much larger. The project has some really unique natural features, has over 11,000 linear feet of cold water habitat, which is really unique habitat still remaining in Northeast Ohio. There's 3 acres of Category 3 wetlands, about 75 acres of mature forest habitat, some really large trees, which is just really amazing. It's also in a conservation corridor that if we are able to protect this property, will be contiguous with 2,000 other conserved property, both private property and public property. So it's a huge addition to a conservation corridor that we've been working on as an organization for decades. So we're very excited about the opportunity of attaining some funding to acquire and protect it. We would allow public access on the property. It's just a really amazing site on the east side in a much more rural community, of course, but still very important ecologically to the Chagrin River and the Chagrin River watershed.
Who owns the property?
It's owned by private landowners right now.
Okay. And they're willing to?
Yep, we have it under contract. Yep.
Oh, great. Okay.
So where's access to this at?
Access is off of Fairmount Boulevard. So there's an existing road right now that you can access the property to.
Is that where you loop down?
Yeah, so the frontage of the property is on Fairmount Boulevard. The existing driveway is not on the property, but we're going to retain an access easement across that property to get to the property. And there's also access on Community Drive, which is on the western extent of the property.
Okay. Thank you. I just wanted to know where this was. The others I know exactly how to get to, but this one is a little vague.
Okay, I make a motion to move this matter to the next fall council meeting with a recommendation of passage under second reading suspension.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you so much. Nice to see you.
Appreciate the support. Thank you all.
Yep, good luck. Okay, so that's it for our resolutions. The next item is a presentation on Power a Clean Future Ohio. Hello.
Hi, good afternoon. I'm John Mitterholzer, and I'm the director of the George Gund Foundation's Climate and Environmental Justice Program area. Thank you, Councilwoman Simon and committee members, for inviting me here to talk to you about Power Clean Future Ohio today. We're going to be joined by Joe Flaherty by video in just a second, but I just wanted to give a little bit of introduction. For well over the last decade, the Cleveland and George Gund Foundations have worked together to reduce greenhouse gas emissions here in Cuyahoga County. We've entered into many different projects with the county itself, and we're grateful for all of your support of that work. I am sure that you are all too aware of the passage of House Bill 6 and the scandal that came from that. What you may not know is that since 2019, Ohio has gone from the 5th largest greenhouse gas emitter to the 3rd. If we were an independent country, Ohio would be the 26th largest emitter in the world. So when that bill passed, it left both foundations here asking the question, how do we reduce greenhouse gas emissions absent state level policy? And that really led us to have a deep conversation with our grantees and organizations we support. And it led us to a very obvious answer that you know already, and that is counties and cities. They matter in the fight against climate change, and they can provide significant greenhouse gas reduction that will actually keep us on a path to the Paris Climate Accord. So really can keep Ohio in the mix, even without state level policy. I am never going to advocate to give up on state level policy, but I really appreciate county and city action. So both of those funders, Cleveland and Gunn Foundation, have begun to fund an effort called Power a Clean Future Ohio. And I'm really grateful to be joined virtually by my colleague, Joe Flaherty, who's the director of that effort. So he's going to provide an overview, and then I'd be happy, along with Joe, to take questions after that. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Hi, Joe.
Hi, can you all hear me okay?
Yes.
Great. Well, thank you, John. And what I'm going to do is share my screen. And I want to just first thank you for the opportunity to present to you today. And thank you for the flexibility in presenting virtually. A daughter that just started daycare. And so she is bringing home lots of fun things from daycare, including colds. And so just to be extra cautious, we appreciate the chance to present virtually and avoid any circumstances. I'm bringing anything up there to you all. So thanks again for the opportunity to present to you, and I'll go ahead and share my screen and dive right in. Great. And if you could just quickly tell me, is everything showing up okay on your end?
Yes.
Great. Okay. So as John walked through, and I thank him for that kind introduction about our work. This effort came together because you have an incredible group of advocates in the state of Ohio who have worked together to try and see some clean energy progress in this state, to see Ohio embrace the opportunity that means economic growth and jobs for Ohio workers, that means real benefits to our environment, and the obvious, which is to address climate change. And so this organization, Power Clean Future Ohio, came together with the support of that coalition, and it runs and is powered by, that's the magic sauce that runs this organization, which is this incredible group of advocates. So just to talk through a little bit about what we do and how we're structured, we launched in February of 2020 officially, and the whole focus of this work is because we found in talking with local governments that oftentimes there was an incredible amount of political momentum at the local level and interest to do this work. Oftentimes there's incredible resident support to do this work. We know how Ohioans feel about clean energy. They're widely supportive of making a movement towards that sector and to embrace that opportunity. But local governments often run into the same issues, which is they have limited funds to do this work. They often are in search of more technical expertise and technical partners just for their own staff, but also for their external partners as well. And so that's really the area that we want to plug in, is we want to be able to be a resource for cities, to be, kind of an energy policy think tank for you all, cities and local governments and counties, any municipality that's really interested in doing this at the local level. We want to be that resource. We want to help adapt anything that makes sense for you all. I think the basic way I talk about this is when we come and talk with any municipality, we don't prescribe anything to anyone. We listen first and hear what is most interesting for you all, and then help adapt and provide some recommendations and some technical resources and assistance to act on those goals. It is completely free for local governments to participate. This addresses kind of the main reason we identified here, which is that local governments often don't have the funds to do this. So creating an organization where there's some sort of membership fee, and we're very fortunate that just wouldn't work. We're very fortunate to have the support of the Gunn Foundation, the Cleveland Foundation, in this work to be able to do this. Finally, the most basic process that we ask if a community does want to join, be it a county, a city, a township, or a village, we ask that they pass a resolution or have their executive make an official commitment. So that could be a basic resolution that we could provide sample language for, just declaring that you're joining. We want to have that commitment. Obviously, like I said, there's no membership fee or there's no cost to do this, but making that step, that commitment, we think is important so we can formalize the relationship. So who is this coalition? I'm just going to run through the next 4 slides. I couldn't fit all the logos on one, so you're going to see them across four different slides. These are all PCFO partners that have come to the table to show support for this work. Many of these are involved on a day-to-day basis. They serve on our various committees that help generate policy recommendations. They help promote the work that communities are doing, tell the story, and build the narrative around what's happening here in Ohio. And you'll see many of these. Many of them you probably recognize. There's some that you probably wouldn't, that are small businesses that are emerging in this space that really speak to the transition and the opportunity here for the clean energy economy in our state. And then some that, maybe don't have a specific interest around clean energy or climate change explicitly in their mission or their organizational structure, but they know the benefits of doing this work. They know how communities can benefit, how their own cities can benefit, and how their own economy can ultimately grow in a more sustainable way. So let's speak just for a second about the environmental challenges. I was really interested in hearing through some of those resolutions and how the county is approaching some of these projects in partnership with the state. What we do know, and you can sub out Cuyahoga County here for city, just, we're thinking densely populated urban areas. They occupy 2% of the world's land mass, but consume over 2/3 of the world's energy, and they make up 70% of global CO2 emissions. So what I like to say to every county and municipality and city that I talk to is if we can do this locally, we can do it globally. I think oftentimes we think of climate change as a far off problem, a global challenge that we'll get to eventually. But the reality is if we can start to implement solutions at the local level, really think about this work in our own community. What are the first 3, 4, 5 things that we should be doing as community members and governments that can have real progress when you add that up. So our goals, as you're probably deducing through this conversation, is we're really focused on reducing emissions. So we want to be able to quantify the recommendations we give to you on how that's going to actually have an impact on your emission profile as a county, and help work with the city, the county staff that's doing this. We want to make sure that the work that we're doing is going to have a benefit to the economy. So let's help tell that story about the jobs that can be recruited to come to the county and to grow the local economy in that way and to support businesses that are interested in investing in it. One critical piece to this is we want to make sure that policy recommendations and the work that we're doing don't further the same systemic issues that have plagued the environmental movement that have plagued this issue for generations, which is we know that vulnerable communities have been left out of the conversation. And so one of the key recommendations we have in this process is to ensure that communities are putting the community voice first and to hear what residents think, hear what the challenges that they are facing, what is their lived experience. There's a variety of ways in which we would recommend doing that. Number one starts with community engagement. We've got a great partner in the Ohio Climate Justice Fund, which is a partner effort where they're funding BIPOC-led or governed organizations to host listening sessions. And we want to be close partners in that to hear what communities are saying and then help implement that right there with their own local government. The other way we do this is by coming in and actually helping drive a conversation within the local government staff. So we have a program called the Equity Coaching for Sustainable Cities program that works for counties, obviously works for municipalities, whatever the structure may be. But this is really providing an equity coach that's assigned to the community staff, the local government staff, that walks them through what does equity look like in the community? What are the environmental challenges that the community is facing? And then also provides a greenhouse gas inventory. The county, Cuyahoga County, is unique in the sense that it's already doing some of this work. So it's already got greenhouse gas inventories that provides to cities within the county. And so we're trying to think about how do we do this in partnership with you all as well? How do we build out this conversation around equitable clean energy action, environmental justice initiatives that help really make make major progress in reducing our emissions, but also don't further the inequities that we've seen in this sector. Finally, we want to make sure we're reducing costs to local government, businesses, and residents. We think there's a lot of ways in which this emerging clean energy economy has real benefits on costs. We've seen the cost curve come down dramatically for renewable energy and electric vehicles. You can look at the headlines every day to see the excitement around EVs and how they can really benefit, our broader economy, but also benefit municipalities. More and more EVs are going to be part of the municipal fleets. And so we have a program with the Clean Fuels Ohio to help do that work, where we assess municipal fleets and make recommendations on how to transition to electric vehicles. So this is an exciting slide, I think, hopefully for the county, because you see a look at where we are in the state of Ohio. I will say there's one caveat here, which is that Cleveland, Ohio, the city council just passed a resolution on Monday evening, so they will join as the 19th PCFO community. But you'll see one notable absence here is we don't have a county that has joined yet. And so I would love to see Cuyahoga County be the first county to join PCFO. The county has obviously led in a lot of different capacities in this space, and would be a great peer to look to for other counties that are trying to do this work, but also an opportunity for you all to tap into the resources we have at our disposal to help further your goals. So you can see, I'm very proud of this map. It shows the wide array of communities that we're working in, from very small villages to large metropolitan areas, large cities, in every corner of the state. Political makeups really vary here as well. So it's exciting to see this work really take hold. I just want to touch briefly on some recommendations and some resources that we have at our disposal. So where cities and counties and local governments are trying to do sustainability and climate action planning, we have consulting services to help communities further that effort and help really provide resources to communities, their local government staff. I mentioned the fleet inventory opportunity and the equity coaching sessions. There's also technical assistance around community choice aggregation. So if communities within Cuyahoga County are not already aggregated, are taking a hard look at their own aggregation program and saying, well, what can we do to really transition to clean energy? We can be a resource for these communities that has no interest in ultimately receiving that contract. We're just trying to provide the basic recommendations. As I said at the beginning, really being an energy policy think tank for communities trying to make this work happen. And finally, if there's work around the energy efficiency programming, municipal benchmarking that the county is trying to do, that's something where we can provide resources through a technical partner. Institute for Market Transformation takes the lead, along with some of our other advocates that know that space well. So finally, I just want to touch on a couple things here that I know often are at the front of the minds for municipal staff, county and local government staff, which is that local governments can't control everything, right? There's things outside of the jurisdiction of a county, outside of the jurisdiction of a city, but there's different ways that the government can influence that conversation. And that's something we put within our recommendations as well, is to think about not only what is controlled, but also what is influenced. So there's many things that a local government can control directly, like the municipal fleet, like an aggregation program, like the actual municipal buildings that sit there and are funded by the government. The other work that can happen here is, how do you educate residents? How do you bring businesses together as a convener? How do you have that conversation around those actions that happen outside of the communities, outside of the government's jurisdiction, but it can ultimately lead to major emission reductions? So with that, I'll go ahead and wrap up and take some questions. And I'm sure John would be willing to jump in here and answer questions as well, since he's there in person. But it would be great to have Cuyahoga County join as the latest PCFO community, and we would be very excited to work with you all directly to help make recommendations to really, like I said, be a think tank for you all to actualize on some of the goals that you've set and be aggressive in pursuing them, and also help bring communities along within the county to see to it that we're all doing our part to reduce our emissions, to see the environmental benefits, but also to help Ohio workers take advantage of the clean energy economy that it's emerging every year. So with that, I'll go ahead and stop sharing my screen and pause here for questions.
Questions? So I have a question about, does this require legislation to join, a resolution? If the county wanted to look at joining this effort?
Yeah, so there's two basic options. One would be to pass a resolution through council declaring that the county is a PCFO community. And then the second would be to have the executive, make a declaration. So those are the kind of two routes that we would go. We highly recommend going the council route that has a little more permanence to it, and we would certainly be able to help with drafting that resolution. We've got some basic sample resolution language that you all could take a look at and see what would make sense if that's a step you would like to take.
What does it actually do for us? I mean, if we were to pass a resolution, we would have access to your expertise and programs and such.
Yeah, so I'll give just a couple quick examples. And these are the conversations we've already started with Mike Foley and his office and other council members as well, which is, there's all kinds of opportunities that are emerging every day around in this space. The American Rescue Plan Act is one example where you saw federal spending that came through to local governments. And there was this question of, well, how can we spend these dollars? What are things we could do? These are where we can weigh in through our expertise and our experts within our network to say, if you wanted to adapt clean energy as part of your spending in this, as part of the broader programmatic efforts within your American Rescue Plan Act dollars, here's what we would recommend as some options. So that's kind of one example of a more higher level, like I said, kind of think tank concept where you're bringing experts to the table to make those recommendations. The other thing is there's also some very basic technical resources. So Clean Fuels Ohio could provide the county with a fleet inventory to assess all of the county vehicles that are out there, what are their end use, and what's the way in which you could transition the fleet on a timeline that is financially feasible to move towards 100% clean energy fleet, 100% electric fleet. So we can make those recommendations to the county. That's all funded through Power Clean Future Ohio, and it wouldn't cost the county anything to do that. So those are some quick kind of basic tools that we could provide. We've also made some recommendations to the county staff already on some energy efficiency programming. So we're not necessarily lock and key here. We want to be a resource for you all from the jump, but we would certainly love for you all to take that formal step of joining PCFO.
Thank you. And what about any discussions with NOACA? Do you work with them at all?
We're constantly we're only a year and a half in, so we're constantly having new conversations with new partners. NOACA is one that we would welcome that discussion. We have not formalized any specific partnership yet, though.
Yeah, I could see some overlap with this work, but we appreciate it very much. John, do you want to come up with any final comments? I appreciate you coming in with the presentation. Yeah, I had heard this earlier on Zoom in the year, so I thought it'd be nice to come in and present in person. Councilwoman Stevens.
One of the questions I have are the financial implications, maybe some positives. I know that in one of the communities that is in my district, a council found that there was a cost savings long-term to using more energy efficient vehicles. And so they might cost $3,000 more to purchase the car, but at the end of the second year, the cost savings for fuel added up to like $45,000, $50,000. So there can be significant efficiencies for using more hybrid vehicles in our motor pools. Can you speak to, is the study ability for this group to provide analysis of things? Can they not only talk about how we reduce our carbon footprint, but how we also can save money long term?
Oh, absolutely.
Is that part of a study?
That is a key component of this. I have a spouse who is, works in government. I'm well aware of the challenges. And that is one of the key components, is that we believe this transition to a clean energy economy, addressing greenhouse gas emissions, is not a cost. It can, in fact, save government. And I think your example is a perfect example. It is true that electric vehicles cost more upfront, but if you look at the long-term maintenance, there are far less parts that break in electric vehicles, so you save on maintenance long-term, you save on fuel long-term. And one of the tools that Joe talked about is we work with Clean Fuels Ohio. It's a grantee of the George Gunn Foundation. They will do that. They will do that for individual municipalities. They will do that for the county, where they'll help you understand, here might be the upfront cost, but they'll do the long-term lifespan of those vehicle analysis, so you'll really understand this is what we need, and then we'll provide a plan year over year. I mean, you're obviously not going to be able to do that with one purchase, but you'll be purchasing vehicles every year. So how might you begin to purchase percentages of those vehicles that over time create a 100% electric vehicle pool for the county? That's just one opportunity that's available. But our entire intent here is to help you. You are already doing this. You're doing excellent work, and just recognizing that we want to help you figure out how to save money, explain to residents how this helps save money. I mean, that's really a big part of this, is helping all of you do what I know you already want to do and really make that case back to residents, taxpayers.
A second piece, I also see that there's a power purchase agreement to install the solar piece in municipal buildings. We have some programming that talks about solar installations for our residents. Is it possible that we get a benefit that that reduces costs for our municipalities as well as the individual residents?
Yeah, absolutely. And there are a number of communities in Cuyahoga County that are already doing this. I live in Lakewood. Lakewood has done that. They're already seeing savings on power purchase agreement that they created for their municipal buildings. And that's another set of expertise that we have. We can help you work. You already have work with Solar United Neighbors on the co-op that you were really instrumental in doing, first one in the state. They're one of the partners of Power a Clean Future Ohio, and they are working with municipalities to do exactly that, to set up power purchase agreements and really help municipalities take advantage of clean energy and save money while doing that.
Council
I could
President.
offer
Mine is more of an out of the box question, just throwing it out there because it's something I've thought about often. And every summer there are so many deaths across the country of animals and infants who have, young people who have been left in cars because of the sweltering heat. Has there ever been any lobbying of the federal government or the auto industry in particular around solar panels being applied to cars, where they build them into them and you can just use the air conditioning to just try to just lower the temperature, not to have to be totally cool, but just lower it enough to reach that life and death line?
Yeah, I don't know about solar panels. I do know that there are several electric vehicle manufacturers that actually have, you can actually do pet mode for electric vehicles, and it actually keeps off the electric engine running the air conditioning while you may go into a store. So I am aware that that feature exists in some of the electric vehicles, and it is an attempt, again, to deal with some of those challenges. So that is something that does exist in a couple of models.
Great, an available feature.
Good questions. I don't think we can overstate the possibility to stimulate and expand our economy with this clean energy. I mean, it's great to save municipalities money and residents money, but at the end of the day, we're moving into a new world, a new day. And I think this, if you can speak to that, how this might help move Cuyahoga County forward with clean energy jobs and opportunities.
Yeah, there is a great body of research called Clean Jobs Midwest, and I'd be happy to supply you with that website. But it's done an extensive analysis of the existing clean energy jobs and where those clean energy jobs are going to be in the future. A significant portion of those are around energy efficiency. And if you actually look at the existing jobs, Cuyahoga County has more clean energy jobs than any other county already. So the opportunity to do that, but the really big thing that I worry about every day at the foundation is how do we do that equitably? And if we make this transition and we're not really thinking about that, we'll have failed in this transition. There really is an opportunity to change the way we think about workforce and who gets access to jobs and how they get access to those jobs. And that's something that I think is really important, and I think the county has been at the forefront of for a very long time. But you're absolutely right. If you look at where the United States is going, the clean energy sector is one of the largest job creators. The challenge in this state is because of state policy, that is not the case. However, in this county, because of many of the policies you've done, we have some of the most clean energy jobs in the entire state. So there's a great opportunity to keep growing that and to making sure that as we grow that, every resident in Cuyahoga County has access to those jobs.
Despite the state.
Despite the state.
Thanks to your help and your foundation and our team here. It's just, we need to be leaders and we'll be ready, when this shifts. It has to. I mean, look at, it's just my editorial. West Virginia coal, dirty coal, if we would invest in clean energy jobs there and train people into sustainable futures and growth, it would be so successful, I believe, instead of just sticking our head in the sand thinking we can keep going like we are, because we can't. So I really appreciate the presentation, and we will look into joining and see what that's going to take on our end and
Yeah,
get with our
thank you.
Director Foley. Any other questions? Thank you so much for everything you've done.
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity. And I do just want to say, as a very proud Cuyahoga County, and that I would love us to be the first county to be a part of this effort. Thank you so much for the
Thank you.
opportunity today.
That being said, I don't have any miscellaneous business. I think the next presentation, when we do have some actual legislation in front of us, I will bring in Black environmental leaders next to give a presentation about their work and be able to really see what's happening in the county in this movement. Thanks, everybody, and for coming out in the rain. Have a good day. Meeting's adjourned.